This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are back with Somal. So excited to have this amazing soul joining us because he's just amazing all around. You could feel his energy, you could see him, and he's joining us today. Honored to be on the show. He's the CEO of Blue Ocean Global Technology, co-founder of Girl Power Talk, managing partner, Capital Expert Services founder. Yes, we're going to talk about Girl Power USA. We're going to talk about his programs. We're going to talk about how he's helping you in so many different ways with consulting, marketing, management, talent development, you name it. He's here to help transform your life, and including mine, which is amazing. So we're really excited to have such a great person here who's really in here in life for the right reasons and doing such good things. So thank you, Samir. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Jill, I'm always thankful for what we have. And, it takes one to know one with respect to finding authentic and genuine people. And as we were just chatting before we started, I think that one conversation really can change the course of your life. Somebody listening to this podcast, somebody reaching out to Jill, somebody contacting Samir, and taking the time to be thoughtful about, hey, there's some real common interest here. And I think that we're all striving for connection. I think that relationships underpin happiness, and we're all looking to get somewhere. And as you go through this journey of life, we all have this finite amount of time. You realize that the things that matter most ultimately come down to those that you can't measure, intangibles.
So true. Well, thank you for being here. And let me start off by just asking a little about yourself, but I got to find out a lot about yourself. So give us a quick overview of who you are. And then I want to back up to where you're from and how you got here and, who inspired you and find out more about you personally.
Hmm. Well, Jill, it's that question. So I'll try to make all my comments geared towards somebody listening who can be thoughtful about applying them in their own life. So there's that question that you get when you go to an event, when you're on a podcast like this, and that question is like, what do you do? And that question has a little bit way of being defensive because you feel like, oh my goodness, everything that comes out of my mouth after that is going to define who I am for this
Mhm.
person. And sometimes it's asked, like, not by you, but
Uh-huh.
when people ask you, they really want to get there. So I always say, first and foremost, I'm an educator, and I'm passionate about learning and helping others learn. And that process of being able to help others make the most informed decisions is one that speeds up. So whenever I tell people an educator, so like then they give me this weird look and they're like, oh my goodness, like, are you a teacher? Like, what are you? And I'm like, no, I speak at events. So they're like, then you're a public speaker. So I have a little bit of fun with that question, and I take them kind of on a wild goose chase. But one of the things that really matters to me is relationships. And I think that anytime I go to a conference, like next week, I'm speaking at the International Car Association's conference in Vegas,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
been booked for a while. And I'm going to get up on stage. I'm going to talk about digital reputation and how they can be thoughtful about taking the trust, goodwill, relationship capital that they have offline and representing it online. But I have my own goals. My own goals
Yeah.
are to make 2 or 3 lifelong friends from that audience and turn those lifelong friends into, I will never forget April 2025 Las
Oh
Vegas's
my
conference, because
gosh.
that's where I met Samir.
Oh, that is awesome. Holy power. You are so powerful and he's so modest. Where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about the childhood and how we got
Mm,
here. And then I want to talk about, of course, how you're helping all these people and all these,
sure.
things you have lined up.
Yeah, I oftentimes joke I'm Indian American in the US and just American when I go to India. So born in upstate New York. Yeah, I've some people kind of find this funny, but I am Indian, and my parents owned a quickie mart, and so kids called me Apu in school, and like I didn't get the joke because like I didn't have cable, but
Got it.
I learned
Got
a
it.
lot about self-reliance from a young age. And
Yeah.
I had incredible parents that just wanted me to be a good human being. They didn't like try to push me to be a stereotypical Indian doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Hmm.
They just said, my dad used to say, Samir, I want you to be a good human being. And I'm like, Dad, what does that mean? What does that mean? And I never understood it. And he always just told me, Samir, do good in this world, and be able to go to sleep knowing that you told the truth, so you don't have to waste mental real estate on other things. And so I've just, tried to live up to that, and pay it forward one day at a time. So born in upstate New York, Rochester, and then I moved to Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And then I lived in Washington, D.C., where I went to school. Then I worked in New York, in Princeton, and now
Wow.
I work remotely and pay what I say is a U.S. mortgage in Pennsylvania, though I kind of live at the airport.
Got it. Wow. Impressive. And I love how he sums it all up so quickly. So humble, beautiful. Well, so let's get started. So, school in DC, right? What did you go to
Mhm.
school for? And then how did this translate to all these businesses and what you're doing?
Yeah, I went to Georgetown University, but most importantly, I learned a lot about the last one to get paid, first one to fix all the problems. When I started a student services company in college called Sparta Campus, we did comprehensive student services, laundry, dry cleaning, furniture delivery. I had a business partner that on the first day of operations, I'm like hauling laundry bags, walking across Catholic University, GW, Georgetown, and he flew in his girlfriend from another college, and he's like holding her hand, watching me like sweat it out and work. And so I like erupted on him. I'm like, bro, this isn't gonna work. And like, of course, you replay it, and it's like, oh my goodness, I've been doing all the work. And so he just went to the bank account and took out all the money. So I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to
Uh-huh.
do now?
Yeah.
Unearned revenue. So you learned a lot about what trust is, and so I think that we can touch upon this here. One of my personal heroes. I'm a student and scholar of Abraham Lincoln, and if I dare may compare myself to Mr. Lincoln, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm self-learned on the law, and so anytime I'm looking at somebody. I never get caught up in pedigrees, GPAs, any of that stuff. I think that it's one's aptitude for learning and all.
Oh, lost you there for a sec. Can you hear me,
Oh,
Samir?
yeah,
There
I
you
can
go.
hear you. I
I heard
said,
you say aptitude for learning and then you went
yeah.
blank.
Oh, I said humility is the essence for life. Hopefully, this recording catches that.
I heard it. I think it's beautiful. And I know I just like good people when I meet good people, connect with good
Absolutely.
people. And you clearly are a helper. There's a lot to get to with all the businesses that do you want to start with the Blue Ocean Global Technology? I mean, the first and foremost, the online reputation management. I mean, you have so many different areas. I just don't know where to
Mm.
start. So I'm going to ask you how you want to break it down, my dear.
Look, I've got all these questions for you, but I'll answer some of them. Then
We'll talk another time. Don't worry. No, don't
hopefully you'll
worry.
give me a few. No, because this audience wants to learn about both of us. But I'll just say briefly that if you think about the amount of time that we spend on our phones, on the internet, how we represent ourselves online is not just critical for our opportunity set. It's also for managing risk. If you don't control the narrative about yourself, somebody else can. And it's also important for people's legacies. I do a lot of work with family offices and ultra high net worth individuals who want their great great grandkids to be able to look them up and find out particular information. But companies are oftentimes looking to align mission, vision, values with technology, marketing, and sales. They're trying to represent themselves online so that can fuel a particular product or service, that can build brand equity, that can be an intangible for valuation. Individuals, probably one of the most overlooked areas for entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals alike. I think many are loath to invest in their digital presence for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want to be perceived as an influencer, and they're like, no, I don't
Hmm.
need to post online. Yet they're always thinking about that strategy for LinkedIn and social media that they're not doing. Uh,
Hmm.
Two, there's choice overload. When you think about websites, blogs, podcasts, videos, search engine optimization, reviews, how are you gonna control it all? How are you gonna get started? It's like a full-time job, each of those different pillars. So they get overloaded by a little bit of choice overload, and then
There's to the
I always
side.
often remind, yeah. So that's a little bit about why it's important. I think that it used to be that somebody successful, like a financial advisor or a lawyer, many of my clients and friends and business partners used to say, well, all my business comes from referrals. Now, if your most important client is at a dinner party and they talk about you, they are going to go Google you before they
Google
call
you.
you. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
That is so true how it all works now. It's so
mm,
different. And you're also investing in helping building like brands and these reputations for companies and helping
mm.
so many. I mean, not just companies, but also individuals and as well.
Yeah, if somebody looks up Blue Ocean Global Technology, one of the first things they're going to do is check out Samir Samal. If I recently, so one of the things I do is I'm an expert witness in
Yeah,
court cases.
I want to hear about
Um,
this too. Yeah, please. Yeah, you've done
and
over 400 something cases. I want to hear about this.
Sure, absolutely. I can tell you, and I was just going to give you an analogy. There's this celebrity case that like we're about to sign a contract for where a celebrity is suing a particular news media outlet. And the attorney got on the call with me, and the first thing they said is, Samir, just introduce yourself. So I gave him 2 minutes, and he said, well, two of them. He said, Samir, we want to go with you. Let's just talk. And I said, why? And he said, I've already done my homework on you. You have backed up all the things that you say you're going to do that we're hiring for. You've applied them on yourself. And then I looked at the fact that you're doing so much good in this world, and it made me want to work with you. So I never, did these things to have a proverbial tailwind, but they do help you and they leverage the speed of trust. And when you think about just how much effort you put into having to, what I say, start at the bottom of the mountain and climb up to tell people how great and wonderful you are. You don't necessarily have to do that if you build a thoughtful digital presence. So that's where I think it surprises me day in and day out how people make a decision on wanting to work with our companies or spend time with me based upon what they read.
Yeah, and you did work, you were asked to represent Donald Trump, right? In the Eugene Carroll. I don't feel allowed to talk about all this, but you've had some big
No, it's
cases.
cool.
Meta, like, yeah, this is
hmm
amazing.
let's talk about Mr. Trump. Certainly a very divisive, controversial figure. I'll first say that I'm politically agnostic. I think I have to be, but I am. What I oftentimes cite is, with respect to politics, is Leo Tolstoy said, "History is a wonderful thing if only it were true." With
Hmm.
respect to Mr. Trump, what happened was the Eugene Carroll case. They contacted me. I was actually visiting Girl Power Talks team in Indonesia, and they said, "Hey, look, here's a sensitive case. We want to bring you on as an expert." And they wanted me to do like 3 months of work in maybe about like a week, 10 days. And I said that I couldn't do it like in that amount of time. If you can give me, I forget the exact amount of time, I said I can make an objective decision. And so I had to turn it down and not even get to that decision point because it didn't make things. I also knew the opposing expert witness, Ashley Humphreys. I was familiar with her work. We've since become friends and corresponded. And I knew that it was not something that would make the most sense. And then also having a sixth sense from a business standpoint, Donald Trump, defamation, New York, probably
Yeah.
wasn't going to go his way. So that
Hmm.
didn't work out. Yes, I did testify against Meta. I basically called in when lawyers or a client is, people are suing each other. Ultimately, when people sue each other, it has to do with money. So if it's business damages, economic damages, internet defamation, marketing, financial related assets, I have a team of 30 attorneys and analysts across different departments, and we're called in to be the experts and produce expert reports, to testify, etc. And it's been an incredible learning opportunity because many of the clients we end up working and helping in other ways. It also is a source of credibility. So I meet, let's just
Yeah.
say Jill and I meet on the streets in New York, and you're like, "Oh, Samir, like what makes you different? I saw and read about you, Blue Ocean." I'm like, "Well, I'm trusted so much that I'm hired to explain these things in the court of law." So yeah, it's a little bit about expert witness.
I can't believe it. Honored. This is amazing. All you do, we need about 10 shows to catch up on all the work you're doing and all the people that you're able to help. Okay. Also, do you want, I mean, there's so much to talk about today, but do we also want to talk about girl power, or we're jumping the gun here?
You're the shepherd. I'm the proverbial sheep
No,
here.
no, no, but this
So
is about you. But there's so much
whatever
to
you
Blue
want to
Ocean.
cover.
We could talk Blue Ocean for days, which is great because do you want to just run down a little more about what you do at the company and the people you can help? And then we'll talk about some of the other companies. My goodness, if
So
we have time.
whatever you feel. I think
Yes.
most importantly to anybody listening to this, I have the abundance mentality. And whether it's my team that's managing, my LinkedIn account or social media, I always respond. And you always are looking in life, if you want to achieve your full potential, to bring up your proverbial average. And I try to be somebody that brings up the average. And you just never know how that next door is going to open for you. For instance, I remember there was a gentleman I met when I was speaking at a conference in Augusta, Georgia, and he's spending a lot of money on his digital presence, and he had all these advisors. And he came to me after this keynote I gave, and he started telling me about it. And he first said, Samir, I can't hire you. I can't hire you. I'm spending too much. I said, it's okay, bro. Like, just tell me what's going on. And he started going over it. And I gave him a list of questions and things to ask. And he's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go get all this fixed. Well, he came back 5 months later and was like, yeah, I've had to get rid of all those people because nobody even listened to the things that I sent. And all your points and your questions were spot on. And so I just helped him and, kind of planted a proverbial seed, and he comes back. So I think most importantly, forget about what Blue Ocean does. I think you need to find people that can bring the best out in you, that you can learn from. And there's all sorts of cliches that you can talk about of being the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, all those things. But I think what's incredibly powerful is that you can go from like listening to this podcast. Jill and I can go from interacting here to being lifelong friends and finding
Yes,
ways
we're
to
going to
help each other
connect
out.
after this.
Totally.
Absolutely. There's
Oh,
something about him. When he logged on, I saw his face for the first time, not like online in person like this. I said, oh my goodness, there's just something glowing, and he's got this radiant energy, clearly, for him to be so humble, to have so many friends, for people to rely on you, and for you to be so successful. And I say that successful in life as in, what your dad, taught you about being most important, about being kind to others, right?
mm,
And doing the right thing. That's what I'm talking about. Forget financial success and business and companies. That's great too, but you got the core and the basics. And not everybody who are in those places of power and have businesses like you have that core, and that's what makes them not good, or business they don't want to deal with. So speaking of power, girl power talk. How did you get involved with this? Because I
mm,
know this is amazing what you're doing. Could you share a little bit about that? Because
mm.
I said the word power.
Yeah. Uh, well, it's a question that I get often, and I'll just break down some walls and put up some bridges. So, one, people ask me why. Why did you start? We have a company called Girl Power Talk that employs women all over the world. We built a system for identifying brilliant and capable young women who have to answer 27 questions. It goes through the AI and plagiarism check, and then they get a ticket to an interview. And so we found a way to take the brilliant outliers in the emerging markets and accelerate their learning curves. Why, though? One, I think you look at society and all the progress that has taken place in terms of technology, economics, mathematics, science, and women have been relegated to the sidelines for most of history. Imagine if
True.
that wasn't the case.
Uh-huh.
Two, the business case for women is well documented. Companies outperform when they add women to C-level positions, to boards, etc. That's well documented. So I don't want to ramble on and opine upon that. I also think that there's something about impact in life. One of my personal heroes that I obsess on is Abraham Lincoln,
Yes, tell
and
me, tell me. I read that. I mean, and honestly, my son, I have a second grader and a fourth grader, and my second grader, Jackson, he's 8, came home a few weeks ago, and he learned all about Abraham Lincoln, and we had the whole scholastic news. We went over it and about how an
mm,
amazing person he is, and I'm like, I'm remembering all this talk, but tell me, where did the obsession with him come from? Do you
mm,
remember learning about him in school or from your parents?
absolutely. I just visited my elementary school actually to do some
Oh,
videos and reminisce on this very subject. One, there's so many people that you can revere in history, but the thing is that Lincoln was lovable. Lincoln was funny. Lincoln was relatable. And it's not just his humble beginnings and coming from nothing to something. It's also the emotional poverty that he endured by losing his sister, his mother, two of his sons. It was just endless for him. And yet, through it all, he had this quiet resolve and accomplished so much. So when you lift up the hood on Mr. Lincoln, and if I look on my desk, like, when you read like some of Abraham Lincoln's like
oh,
actual
wow.
writings and speech, I was at a conference. Uh, I was at an event, and people, I have this like team, and they're in my LinkedIn, and they'd message, and there's correspondence, and they send me updates before I go to the conference, and it's pre-approved things that I tell them they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
say, so it's as if it were me. And this guy said, "Oh, Samir, I love the fact that you love Lincoln. Well, I'm a Lincoln historian," and he started like quizzing me on Lincoln, and he said, "Give me like, some of your best, Lincoln lines." And there's so many of them, and he called this group of people around. He's like, who's the brown guy who knows about Lincoln? And so it was very it was fun. And so I told him, one of my favorites, and this is one that I often point to, actually, this article I'm working on, I'm going to, he when he's debating Judge Douglas, Jill, in 1858, he said that Judge Douglas's argument is so thin that it reminds him of a homeopathic soup that's been made from the shadow of a pigeon that's been boiled and starved to death.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
That is a
this.
thin soup.
That is a
Um,
thin, thin soup. Very
thin
skinny.
soup.
Mm-hmm.
He's funny though.
That is
Lincoln,
his, his
he's a
sense of humor
humorist.
is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's Lincoln could tell stories and would endless for hours, and he wasn't somebody that set out to be like, some of our most revered, comedians, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. I mean, they set out to be funny and they're great at it. Lincoln just was funny because of his way to relate to the common person. Like he people will appreciate this if they're listening, and it doesn't matter even if it's just you. So he said that the rationale for Democrats who wanted to annex or take over Mexico, he said that reminded him of the farmer that claimed he wasn't greedy when that farmer said, I just want that land that joins mine. So, anyways.
Oh my goodness. Wow, there's a lot to you. So Samir Abe Samal. Got a new middle name there. We have a lot to talk about. Girl Power USA. Just I mean, so you have this is worldwide. I mean, you're helping people from all over, right? Not just the US, all different countries. And so
Mhm,
you mentioned they take this test, right? What happens from there? What are some of the things that they're doing
mhm.
together and helping
Yeah.
to achieve to empower each other and, our future?
Briefly, so they take this questionnaire, which filters out lazy people. Also, the name Girl Power Talk, Girl Power USA is a great jerk filter. Jerks typically don't apply. For-profit company, Girl Power Talk. Foundation, Girl Power USA. Two work hand in hand. We find brilliant and capable young people, young women, young men. There's many men that work for us, and we accelerate their learning curves by putting them on real client projects and allowing them to gain experience across tech development, public relations, marketing, finance, law, and then they grow and they transform into something else. And so it's one of those situations where I feel um, incredibly blessed. Our foundation, we have a lot of people that support that, and we're able to do good, like funding doctors in Uganda and working with Girl Up in California. And so I would just say that there's so many people out there that want to do good and help others, and they yearn for it. And I think that we have an innate ability to give them a blank canvas and help them paint a Picasso so that it can be something that they do anonymously, it can be something that's very public and good for their company and good for their brand. But most importantly, they can actually connect and talk to the people that are in Kenya or that are in the United
Oh,
States, wherever they are.
wow. Wow. Amazing. There's so much to you and the work that you continue to do. And here you mentioned you have an engagement coming up, a speaking event, the CAR, what association in
Oh
April?
yeah,
What's happening in
international.
Vegas?
I'm going next week to the International Car Franchisee Association, I think annual conference in Vegas. So should be a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, a lot of fun. This is it just comes easy for you, right? Is that really fun? What do you do for fun? Let me ask, do you ever have a fun time? What do you do in your downtime? Do you ever have
Y-
any?
Yeah,
You do?
you work incredibly hard, but behind closed doors, and you enjoy the journey. See, the journey is where we live, and
It's
and
the
when
climb. It's the Miley Cyrus song. It's the climb.
I love Miley Cyrus,
I
she's so
love
good.
that song. It's so true
Um,
though. Yes.
we start singing "Party in the USA."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you don't want to hear me sing, but yes,
Mm,
it's true. I love her. But it's
mm,
all about the climb because once you get there, it's like, wait, like, okay, this is it. Now what? It's all about that
mm.
time of when you're learning and you're churning and you're growing and you're making mistakes and it's all about the uphill. I just love it. Go ahead. Sorry.
You're good. For me, I'm an obsessive reader. It's kind of one of those things that, it's ruthless, but nobody wishes they watch more TV, on their deathbed. And so I try to read more than I skip to Netflix. I'm guilty of both.
Yeah.
I try to work out 5 6 times a week. It doesn't always happen, but I try. I enjoy being present. I think that because I'm like a storyteller and a raconteur, like, and I'm there for people, and I have so many friends that I've built along the way. I get so much positive energy, which helps fuel you when you have low points. And I just try to be present here in this conversation. If I'm going to a particular destination, try to spend some extra time on the day in and day out, work remotely, see people, like everyone, I've got incredible friends, incredible family. I've got hobbies, although a lot of my hobbies and things like, many people, their free time, they'll do something like volunteer or support a cause. I've built that into my life. So never stops, but that's the blessing you sign up for. So
It's so true. Well, I also want to say something else that we have in common, which I was reading and I laughed about, which is so true. One thing that I, Jill Nicolini, do despise, hate, whatever you want to say, is when I'm out. For an example, last night I had to go out to
mhm,
an event and I had to meet people. And even though I'm in the job I do and who I've been, I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. And that's just what I love to do. But what always happens is I meet people and right away oh, what do you do? Who are you? What? And it's like they obsess over that. And I'm like, I'm just Jill. I'm a mom. I got two boys. Like, and then all of a sudden you meet someone and there's like, well, I'm this and I'm that and I'm on this board and and I'm just like, I just hate when people identify themselves with their titles. That means nothing. Take that job away. Who are you? Who's your core? No, who are
mm,
you? I don't care what you do for a living. It's not going to impress me. But I know you have the same philosophy as myself. You're not into that. People who are obsessed with their titles and their money and no, who are you? I want to know you. I don't care that you're a doctor, a private bank investor, whatever you are, but it just says so much about a person. So anytime I'm out the supermarket, the CVS, or even with my kids, I try teaching them this. You always be
mm,
kind. You hold that door. You talk to people, and you gotta observe and listen to the people around you. But
mm.
I
What's
love that
your advice for like other mothers, because
other
I like have
moms.
a lot. Yeah, what how do you balance, how do you find it, and like what would be your message to
Well,
other moms
well,
or
well,
dads?
no, well, my message is it's one, probably I'm going to say it's unique, and I'm very proud of this one thing in my life that I became a mom all by myself. So I was so obsessed with wanting to become a mother, and I didn't have a partner. I did, but he left me. So what does that do? It inspires me to just do it anyway by myself. So that's how I had my first child, and I did it all by myself. I'm mom and dad. So it's like, wow. So my message to people out there is, as a guy, as a woman, you could do anything. You want a family, you want to be a mom or dad, you could do it. You don't need to have the traditional family, the marriage, that it doesn't work for everyone, right? So whatever you want in life, you can obtain, you can achieve. If you want to be a mom, you can adopt, or you can have a child by yourself. So there's nothing, we are limitless in life. And I'm so inspired by that. And I'm glad you asked that question about for moms and dads, because I just think family is just always so important, right? We live one life, we come in one way, and we leave the same way. And what does it really matter? Does it really matter how many, like last night I'm at this party and all these women have these Louis Vuittons and these Hermes bags. I have like a bag from Macy's. I have like shoes from Macy's. I'm not fancy. I don't have money like that. It's not me, but I still fit in and I do what I do. And it's like, but I just like meeting good people and advice to people out there. You can always be a parent, whether you think you have the choice that you can or cannot. It's possible. You could do it. I've done it. So there's my little advice, but we're running
That's
over. So,
incredible.
but yeah, there's so much more to talk about with you. So, are we back again, or is this our first and last show?
We could be back, but I look forward to, yeah, making a new friend in you and
Deal.
spending quality time, and we can, I want you to be like, man, I'm so glad I did this podcast network and partnered with them, because that's how I met Samir. So,
I It
it's
is so true. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're going away next week. You have that conference and anything else that we should be aware of. Can we see you anywhere soon? Or do you have any books too? Are you writing books? I know you're reading books.
I'm reading, write something worth reading, read something worth writing. I think,
Got it.
I don't, I'm working on editing the seventh edition of this book, which I'll be a co-author on, but that's, for me, most importantly, you can just Google Samir Samal. You can find my information if you want to reach out to me, and know that, I'm looking to be your friend,
Yeah.
if you're worthy. No, just kidding. I think that we always find ways, to work with people. You just never know what is coming, and just try to be kind to people, try to work hard when nobody's watching, and
It's so true.
just surprise people with how nice you can be to them.
Yeah, just be amazing. Somal, Sameer, Somal. Google him. Go to the websites. I mean, there's so many. Blue Ocean Global Tech, right? Do you want to mention a few of the others? You're so modest. I will do it for you. Girlpowertalk.com, girlpowerusa.org. Hold on. Then there's the capitalexpertservices.com, but just Google his name. Everything will pop up. And on social media, how should we find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on, all those different handles. If you want to find me, I'm big on using the internet to get off the internet and meet people. So,
Are you TikToking? Are we going to find the latest craze of the
I,
singer
I
dancing
think my
tonight?
team. No, I
All
don't
right.
know if my team has me on TikTok yet. I'm not
Got it.
sure.
Got it. Don't worry. Well, it's a pleasure getting to know you and looking forward to speaking with you again. Thank you so much for being here today.
Mutually, Joe.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.